crazy, guys. Kendra do such a good job. Let's do claps for Kendra in the comments.
Oh, thank you.
Beautiful. Good way to start off Spooky Month.
Woo! Round 2. We're on round 2 of Spooky Month.
Yeah. For you guys, right. I already got confused. You've already seen our other episode, and you're like, wow, production value insane. I know, right? We're pretty crazy.
We still just can't get over it.
Right? And I decided to be festive and decorate.
I love it.
We were just talking about, we're like, we don't have any, like, good Halloween shirts. I mean, there's that Jaws shirt I gave you, but, like, I don't think Jaws is, like, it's considered a scary movie, but it's not a Halloween movie.
No, yes.
Right? So, very tricky.
But you know what? We welcome all spooky movies, regardless of if it's Halloween or horror. We don't segregate. We welcome all the scary movies here.
You're all scary to me. But yes, this is round 2 of a Spooky Month.
Woo woo!
And I think up today for the docket, me and Kendra both watched Scream 2.
Yes.
Apparently the same day. Did not plan that. We just happened to tell each other. And we're like, oh.
It was meant to be.
Wow. Magical. And then I watched Babysitters as well.
Hell yeah.
For today. And then maybe Kendra might talk about my best friend's Exorcism.
Oh, yes.
The Snapchat she was sending me was just her being like...
Well, I just... I at one point, I just suddenly became fully conscious that my facial expression had not changed at all throughout, like, the last hour of the movie that I was watching.
Like,
I'm like, I just need to document
my face
this
hurts
right now. Yeah, literally.
You know, like when you have a good laugh and it just, like, hurts your face or something,
yeah.
you know? It was just like that.
But it was my eyebrows. Like, my eyebrows were, like, so high up on my head. I'm like... I don't know if I can lower my eyebrows right now.
Shit. Bring them down. Bring them down, boys. Bring them down.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. Woo. Dodged a bullet there.
I don't know. Should I just get my best friend's Exorcism out of the way?
If you want to get that out of the way, let's do it. Let's get her out of the way.
Sure. Okay. So the reason I watched this movie is because I had read the book about 3 months ago. It was sometime like early summer, I believe. I took it out of the library because it was a recommendation on this app that I use to like keep track of like the books that I read and get some recommendations for other books. So this was a recommendation on there. People were saying it had very like Stranger Things vibes, and the cover looked pretty cool. So I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll give it a shot. I usually, again, I'm like still dipping my toes into different like genres for books. I'm usually like I'm not a huge reader, so right now I'm getting a little bit better at reading, but like romantic comedies and lighthearted things are more the stuff that I can handle right now because it's easy reads. But I'm like, I should try like a few different horror books and see. I mean, I love watching horror movies. Horror books should be just as good, right? So I read the book, and I didn't end up finishing the book because it got real weird. Like it just the story took like a weird turn, and I'm either sad to say or happy to say, I don't know, but either way, the movie does the same thing basically. So when I discovered that they turned it into a movie on Prime, I was like,
sorry, remind me who the two act. I feel like I told you I saw the trailer, and I feel like I recognize. Are they girls that I know, or am I?
You probably
losing my marbles?
The one actress is from what is it called? Elsie Fisher is her name, but I'm trying to think of she was in The Summer I Turned Pretty. That's where I know her from, but she's been in like a few like teen things nowadays.
Is she the main character in that show?
In The Summer I Turned Pretty? No.
Oh, never
She's
mind
in like
then.
the latest season as like one of the B stars. Okay, IMDb does not want to work for me right now. So
Rude.
Yes, and the other girl, I don't think she's been in a ton of things.
Okay. Maybe they just have faces that I recognize. Maybe
they do have very like familiar faces for sure. And what was I gonna say? So the the movie, I guess the book maybe too, but like the movie advertises it as like a horror comedy kind of thing.
Mhm.
I didn't get so much of the comedy, although there were many times where I felt like I was laughing at inappropriate times, but I feel like that was just because I was very uncomfortable with what was going
Mhm.
on sometimes.
Yar.
Um, which is like, I don't know, I just feel very conflicted about this movie because the
Mm.
story has potential. So I'll give you like you said you've seen the trailer, but the
Yeah.
gist of the story is these two best friends go with their, group of girls to the lake house. They end up like oh sorry, and then this is set in the 80s too. So these
Okay.
are, teenage girls growing up in the 80s and stuff. So they go to one of their friends' lake houses, and one of the girls' boyfriend shows up, and oh, he brings acid. So everyone wants to drop acid for the first time and see what happens.
Sure.
And so
As
they
you
do
do.
as you do in the 80s, I guess.
Mhm.
Lo and behold, LOL, the acid doesn't work. None of them end up like tripping or anything like that. But the two best friends, the main characters of the movie, end up like stumbling upon this kind of abandoned house in the woods and
Mm.
go inside, and spooky stuff happens, and then something spooks them, and they turn to run away, and one of the girls falls and ends up like basically getting captured by whatever monsters inside, and the other
Mm.
girl like runs out thinking that her friend's right behind her.
Mm.
And so when she discovers her friend's not behind her, she goes back to get her and finds her, and she's kind of like all messed up and like really like in shock and scared and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And in the days after that, going back to school and stuff like that, she starts acting really weird, very like mean, and then it kind of turns into like this like Mean Girls story for a little bit, where all of
Mm.
a sudden this girl who was her best friend is now like turning everybody against the main girl.
Mm.
So now she's like pulling mean pranks on her. She's sabotaging some of the other girls in their group,
Mm.
and so there's that kind of whole bit that happens. And then the last half of the movie is the main girl seeking out this guy who's a part of this like traveling Christian show, cuz that's the
Mm.
other theme of this movie too, is like they're in like a Christian school or something like that.
Mhm.
So there's a lot of like religious kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so one of the scenes is like this trio of brothers who are like bodybuilders, but they promote the word of God. So they're like
Okay.
doing like this thing where they're, lifting weights and stuff, but they're like preaching the word of God at the same time. And the one guy, the younger guy, he like notices the girl that like got all messed up and stuff
Mhm.
in the woods. He notices her kind of like tweaking out a little bit in the audience. And
Mm.
so later on in the movie, the main girl who's trying to like save her best friend ends up like confiding in him and being like, "You noticed that, like, what do we do about it?" And he's like, "Oh, your friend's possessed by a demon, and there's all these things that we have to do, and my brothers are the experts of it. I've never done it myself, but I've always wanted to, so this is my chance." And like it just gets really wacky at the end.
Okay.
Yeah, and then basically they save the girl. They exorcise the demon, but the demon looks like a mix between Gollum from Lord of the Rings and Dobby from Harry Potter. So it's
Yes.
like it was
Yes.
very, yeah. So that's
Yes.
that's about the time that I sent you the Snapchat of my facial reaction.
You know what? Fair. If I saw that too, I'd also probably be like, "Huh?
Right? I'm
Wait,
like,
wait,
what?
wait,
Yeah.
wait."
So yeah, so like I said, I felt like the story had potential. It was
Mhm.
very like it had the potential to be really spooky and stuff like that. But I don't know if it's just like they didn't capture the vibe. Like, because obviously I'm assuming they were using Stranger Things as kind of like their inspiration for stuff.
Mm.
Because of course there's a lot of like 80s things littered about, all the music and stuff like that. But I don't know, it
Yeah.
still felt too polished in a sense. If that I don't know. Yeah. So I feel
Interesting.
like I don't know, it almost seems like if the story was actually if this movie was filmed in the 80s, it probably would have been much more of a hit than seeing it being made right now. Yeah.
The thought of like gym bros, like just because like on TikTok and like Instagram reels, there are like bodybuilders who are just like, yeah, I the only word I follow, word of the Lord. So, like, I mean, maybe that's a thing in the 80s as well, but I feel like that's something that's maybe more of a modern thing. potentially.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of the issue too. Like, again, not saying that maybe that wasn't a thing in the 80s. Like, again, I'm sure there were, like, yeah, at Christian schools, like, we had people talk, but, like, the idea that they're gym bros just feels like that's a
Mhm.
more modern thing, just, seeing it on, like, Instagram and
Right? Which is
TikTok and whatnot.
I
So,
think maybe why, like, I was so conflicted with the story
mm,
at that point is because, like, and they again, they advertise it as, like, a horror comedy coming of age sort of thing,
right.
but it was, like, less focused on the coming of age and more focused on the religious aspect of it, because there was a part 2 and, like, one of the girls in the group, I guess she's, like, a closeted lesbian, and they kinda hint at
Mm-hmm.
that throughout the thing, and then when the girl who's possessed, like, does something to sabotage her,
Mm-hmm.
she ends up, like, exposing her being a lesbian, and then is like,
Oh.
"God hates gays, don't you know that?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay, like,
Oh.
whoa," and again, like,
Oh.
yeah, so I just feel like there was a lot of weird,
Oh.
you know?
Oh.
Yeah,
And
so
again, that would be like speaking of coming of age story, like that would be like, I don't know, something that would have happened, you know?
yeah,
And
yeah.
like, yeah, huh.
I don't know, I
Because
like,
like how
again
do you I guess sorry, since I haven't seen the film, I guess my question is how do you come back from that?
right? Yeah.
How do you bounce them being like, well, this demon like called her out. But guys, the exorcism went great. She's all good, but now you have this random girl who's now probably ostracized from the school at this point.
Right.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
interesting, interesting.
Right? So I mean, if you have any curiosity to check it out, I would be interested to get your thoughts on the movie too.
Hmm,
But, yeah, it was, I don't know, it was just very, I'm very conflicted and very bothered by this movie, to say the least.
that is fair.
Yeah,
That is
so,
fair.
yeah.
How interesting. I think it's funny because you mentioned this earlier. How when I watched Totally Killers on
Mhm,
Prime, that I believe I was recommended my best friend's Exorcism and Freaky, and all these like films that are like horror comedy esque
mhm,
type things. So very
yeah.
interesting.
And
Well,
yeah, there's, like, a
hmm,
plethora of them on there, which I'm guessing must be Amazon Prime originals that, yeah, I've never heard of
yeah.
some of them, and I'm like, "Huh, interesting."
Well, maybe at a future time we'll have to look into it, and yeah,
Yeah.
maybe I'll eventually have to watch my best friend's Exorcism and
Like
see how
like
it
I said, there's a
rolls.
lot of potential for the story. It was very interesting up until a point, and then I felt like the focus was just on the wrong thing, and that's
Mm,
kinda what lost me, maybe?
I see.
So, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting
Interesting.
stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, pivoting from my best friend's exorcism, let's talk about a Scream 2.
Woot woot.
Um, so yeah, so obviously Kendra has seen it. This is a first time watch for me. But I had a great time. I had a great time.
Honestly, I think this actually might have been a first time watch for me too,
Oh,
because
really?
well, when I sat down to watch it, I don't recall actually, like, I don't remember seeing any of that stuff, but I did remember, like, the, scenes that Scary Movie used from Scream 2, so I
Um,
think that's where I got confused, is I
I
think I
love
might have
those.
I saw Scary Movie and then kinda, like, that and Scream just
Yeah,
kinda blended together in my mind.
that's fair. I've done
Yeah.
that multiple times with other things because,
Because yeah, I
these
had
are
no
older
recollection of
films.
the story that was going on in the second one, so
You're like, wow, this is
yeah.
great.
I'm like, "Wow, okay.
Well,
This
there you
explains so
go.
much."
Love this. Love it. Love it. Love it. But yeah, I was talking to Kendra earlier about it, and I was like, yeah, I've really enjoyed. Like, I watched the first one earlier this year, so I was like, yeah, I'm itching to get to the second one. And yeah, I just had a lot of. It was a good time, good vibes. It was just so
Nice.
funny to me that we had just watched Friday the 13th Part 2, and we were kind of complaining about, like, the opening of that being, like, this weird recap and, like,
Mhm.
way too long of a recap. And then Scream 2 kind of opens, like, it with its own version of that, but, like, I think did a way better job of
Yeah.
like they're like, "Oh, Gail wrote this book, so now it's being turned into a movie." And so the movie's playing on screen like the events of Scream 1, but not quite, with like
Mhm.
different actors and like yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was way funnier because then they were still were able to like comment on like again, because they are also doing the same tropes of horror films, so that they were able to like do like a self commentary on their own movie. Like,
Right.
it was wild. And then again, it was wild to have like all the people in the theater dressed up in Scream. Like, oh yeah, dressed up in these well, I guess they don't call he's not called Scream in the movie, but
The ghost face.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're giving away free costumes at the premiere, and everyone's running around. They're like, ah, and
Yeah.
Jada Pinkett Smith's character is just like, this is whack. Like, it's so weird. And then at the end, when she gets stabbed, and then she's dying, and everyone's just like, what? And then they're like, oh, wait a second. Like this weird meta commentary on like how we become so obsessed, and then we're not seeing like, what's happening right in front of us, that like we're weirdly glorifying the violence we see, and yet we can't handle it when it actually happens to
Right.
us. So I was like, wow. I was already like, hell yeah, let's fucking go. Let's go.
I'm in, baby.
I like how the film class was stacked with actors. I was like, is that Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
Right.
But of course, the second I saw her, I was like, rip Buffy. You're gonna die. And then the other guy, I'd seen him in a bunch of other things, but I couldn't think of his fucking name. Timothy, whatever his nuts was. And then you had a young, who plays her boyfriend now. Fuck, I can't think of either of their names right now. But again, they were like they're recognizable names to us now, but back then,
Yeah.
maybe. I think Michelle Gellar was a big one, because I think that was still the hype of Buffy, I think.
Yeah.
So she would have been a big name to be in there. So that was really cool to see. I also liked the when Buffy, not Buffy, but when Cher McGill's character dies, Ghostface does like the iconic wipe of the knife. And I was like, Dead by Daylight!
Dead by Daylight, yeah.
I was very stoked. I was like, hells yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I had a great time watching it. I know we kind of made because we had talked, like, oh fuck, we watched at the same time. The comment about like you found the pacing a little off and long, and like to a degree, I did find it a little long, but I also was just like, it's all part of the trope. Like that end climax scene was going on for so long, but I mean, like sometimes, again, just watching Friday the 13th, like, yeah, some of those scenes just like seem to go on for a very long time. I was like, this seems, but it's like, oh, it's all kind of like part of the trope. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I didn't mind it so much. Although I did find it funny that they thought foam blocks was gonna kill somebody. I'm like, I doubt those are real. Those are stage foam blocks. Like, I don't know who the fuck you think you're getting with that.
Yeah.
But God, I did really enjoyed the twist.
Yeah.
Because it really had me up until like, I mean, about a third way through the movie, I kind of figured it had to be that Timothy guy's character. One, because he was one of the only people left alive.
Yeah.
But that moment where he's like, oh, and my assistant, was, MIA the whole night, because like the whole time they're trying to throw suspicion on the boyfriend, like her trying to deal with that. And I was like, God, because I almost had me too. I was like, oh shit, really? Is it? But then they're having this fight where he's like, no, it's not me. Listen to me. And then he ends up dying. And he goes, and he's like, he was such a good guy. And I was like, damn. I was like, you had me. But it was Sheldon's mom who was the murderer.
Right.
I only maybe thought she could have been in it just because she originally was supposed to come to Expo, but ended up canceling.
Oh.
Or not, sorry, she didn't, like, I think she just ended up getting busy. That's why she was unable to attend. So I figured, like, her character had to have more importance.
Right.
But I didn't think she was also, like, Billy's mom. I was like, wow. I was like, what a time. So, like, I enjoyed all of it. Although, side note, can we talk about What's His Nuts' character? Levi, What's His Nuts? The guy who they first blamed who they thought killed her mom in the first movie.
Oh,
what's his name? Levi?
Liev Schreiber?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about him for a second, okay? So again, there's a scene where Billy's mom has the knife on Naomi Campbell. And he's there with a gun, and she's like, hey, you have to shoot her. And then she's like, but wait, like, let me kill her, and da-da-da. And, like, he legitimately had to be like, I don't know. Maybe I should. And I was like, Okay. Like, again, a very interesting thing, because, again, you see his character kind of throughout the film, like, doing this weird, like, TV circuit, because it's now proven he's innocent, and now he's trying to
Mhm.
get his, like, 10 minutes of fame, and he's just, like, so obsessed with it
Mhm.
that even at the point of, like, maybe you should save another human being, I get there's probably complications, because she was the one who said it was him, and it really
Mhm.
wasn't.
Yeah.
But then she goes, "Oh, I'll go on your talk show with you." And he's like, "All right." And then kills the other character saving her.
Yeah.
And then we're just supposed to be like, "Yeah, it's all good now." And
Mhm.
at the end, she just goes to reporters, "Hey, talk to him. He's the real hero." And I was like,
Yeah.
we're just going to forget that for even for a second, he thought about killing you.
Yeah.
We're going to like let him have like the limelight still.
Right?
That didn't sit well with me. I was like, I don't like you.
I'm sure at that point she was probably just like, "You know what? I'm over all this. I just want to go back to my old life with no issues.
I
I'm
think
just
she,
gonna pass it off to someone
yeah.
else."
Obviously, like, she's been dealing with this, like, her whole life, so she was
Yeah.
probably very happy to do it, but I didn't feel like he should have been rewarded.
Yeah.
Again, he obviously didn't, it sucks to be wrongfully imprisoned, but I was just like, I don't like you, sir.
Yeah.
I really don't like you. So that was my own personal, like, I don't like that. No, no. But, I did watch, immediately after I finished watching it, I watched the trailer for, like, the next one. For Scream 3. And it
Nice.
looks like he is also in it, so like I said, I want to watch it because it's like what you said, if those are the three what Wes Craven did, and like that's his own kind of like trilogy. So I
Mhm.
think, yeah, 4 is kind of like a soft reboot
Mhm.
in a way. So
Yeah.
I would like to finish the trio of
Mhm.
movies to kind of see where it ends up going.
Yeah.
And I secretly hope his character dies in the next one. But that's just my opinion.
We'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm. But yes, what did you think of Scream 2 that you didn't know you watched, or maybe you watched? Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think I found it a little long for my liking. I
Mm.
mean, the first one's just so iconic, obviously.
Yeah.
And I know that yeah, they tried to kind of like carry on the story and the kind of mystery of all the whole thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all in all, the whole point of the genre, or not genre, what would you call it? The franchise of
Yeah.
Scream
Yeah.
is it yeah, it's making fun of horror movies, right? So it's very
Mm-hmm.
very meta in a lot of ways, and
It's still spooky.
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed it to a point, but I wasn't like, "Oh my god, I really love this movie." I think it was just kind of like, okay, like they continued it on. They kind of wrapped a little bit up with the first one. They, had some connections like with the whole Billy's mom and everything like
Mm-hmm.
that. I thought that was kind of a cool way to continue it on, and then it also was like a kind of interesting nod to like Friday the 13th in a way too.
Mm-hmm.
So that I appreciated.
Ooh, sorry, the reference to The Shining,
Mm,
right? Like all these little things where I'm like, hey,
yeah.
show that they do. Yeah. As much as they make fun of these tropes, like they clearly I don't know, they still pay respects.
Mhm.
They can still be like, they can still commentate and be like, what the fuck, but still be like, hey, very cool genre. So,
Mhm.
but I guess we'll try to wrap it up with The Babysitter.
Woohoo!
What a strange movie. What a strange movie. I will start off with, Kendra, how dare you didn't warn me that there were spiders? How dare you?
Oh, whoops.
How dare you? It was just, there was a scene opening. Sorry. So the story is about this 12-year-old boy who still has a babysitter. And it turns out she's part of the occult with the devil.
Mhm.
And one of the early scenes of the movie is, I want to call him Billy, but that's not his name. It was, oh my god, why can't I think of his name?
The main kid?
Yeah. It was also B, wasn't it?
Mm,
Cool! Not even
Cole.
close, Kaylee. Not even close. Nailed
It
it,
was the
though.
next letter.
It was the next letter in the alphabet. But yeah, Cole and his mom, she's cleaning out the crawl space under their house,
Mhm.
and there's a giant ass tarantula just chilling there, And he's like, Mom, we should really deal with the spiders. And she's like, no, Cole, they eat the insects. I'm like, listen, my house is covered in spiders, but they're like the itty bitty ones. Sometimes they got big old bulbous butts that are disgusting, or you got your daddy long legs.
Yep.
I don't like them, but I get that. If my crawl space was covered in tarantulas, that house is going in flames. I'm moving. Like, Mom, you're insane. Like, you're crazy, okay? You're crazy. But anyways, I had to get that off my chest. It was very annoying. So I knew very early on when that happened, I was like, fuck, there's gonna be a scene in the crawl space. So when that scene came, my hand was pretty much like this the entire time. I was like, I ain't risking it for the biscuit. Maybe I'd look over a little bit just to see, but then I'd be like, nope, not today. I don't need that kind of nightmare fuel today.
Oh.
No, thank you. But yeah, so basically his parents go away, and so his babysitter comes and they hang out. They have such a great time because she's, the popular girl, and he's 12, and they're like, do you really need a babysitter anymore? And I'm like, I guess 12-year-olds don't need babysitters, but I don't know. That seems kind of weird to leave a 12-year-old, but hey, I don't know. We'll see. But anyways, so his friend from school kind of dares him to stay up. She's like, well, what does the babysitter do after you fall asleep? And he goes, I don't know, I just go to sleep. So he's like, okay, I'll watch. And we get a wonderful scene introducing all the other characters with the spin the bottle. Love that. And then you see the very long kissing scene with everybody.
Yep.
And then she kisses this other nerdy guy who I think kind of parallels a little bit of Cole, He probably sees a lot of himself in this other geeky kid who's like an outcast. And then he watched him get murdered right in front of his eyes.
Yep.
And then chaos ensues, and it just keeps getting crazier and crazier after that. I will say, at the beginning of the film, I was just kind of like, I don't know, this seems kind of nice. Like, there's like an older girl looking after this kid, Like, they seemed like they had a really good bond.
Yeah.
Until she turned out she was the devil. Or, she's not specifically the devil, but she clearly does devil worship.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a wild movie. It's so weird.
Right? See, that kind of vibe of that movie was what I was kind of maybe expecting from my best friend's Exorcism. So when it didn't really like match with that, I was like, what is happening here? Like,
And I mean, to be fair, they went balls to the wall.
Oh yeah, they did.
They were just like, let's fucking go.
And there's a sequel too.
I know, which I'm very excited. With our boy, Robbie Amell.
Woot woot.
Bella Thorne was in there. I was really sad at first when she got shot in the boob, and I was like, is that it for her character? I was like, that kind of sucks, but then she does come back later, so I was like, okay, cool.
Yep.
And then Cole ends up killing pretty much all these kids, So I guess it was one of those times where like they didn't really explain the full story to you. Like they kind of only gave you little crumbs to kind of dissect, because most of it was like, how is Cole gonna get the fuck out of this situation?
Yeah.
Robbie's character is so fucking wild. He's like literally trying to kill this kid, and then he goes, is someone egging your house? No, you have to go like beat this kid up. I was like, what he's like giving him a pep talk, and he's just like, it's like, did you kill Sonia? Wow, that's awesome. I was just like, wow, he did that so well. I was like, that's so out of pocket. And he did like, again, speaking of Friday the 13th, he did that whole sound when he was trying to run after him. His death was a little lame, in my opinion, just like a wee bit lame, just because like, it obviously reminds me of, he kind of had the Tarzan death where Clinton gets a vine around his neck and he chokes and ends up dying. Yeah. But to me, that made sense because he was like stuck in them and he was trying to cut them all away. Yeah. And then one goes under his neck and then he doesn't realize it gets looser or he gets tighter and tighter as he's trying to get free and then kills him, where I'm not quite sure how that rope perfectly went around his neck and killed him, but I was like, whatever.
Bye, Robbie.
We're just gonna go with it, I guess. Yeah. So weird. And it was really odd. Like, even when Cole eventually steals this guy's car, this divorcee's car, and like goes through the house and kills his babysitter in the end.
Mhm.
It was so bittersweet of like he's clearly like so distraught and upset, you know.
Mhm. Yep.
As he said, he was like, I grew up when I realized you were the devil and I didn't want to have anyone else be hurt, even though he clearly cared about her.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, throughout the film it was hard to tell if like she also maybe cared about him, but
Right?
obviously in her own kind of weird way.
Yeah. Or if it was all just part of the plan.
Right? So yeah, so I'm very excited to watch the sequel.
Get ready. Just get ready. That's all I'll say.
I'll fucking get ready. But yeah, it was a good time. It was just so balls to the wall.
Right?
Good God. Good golly, Miss Molly Ringwald. Like I said, minus the time I had to cover my eyes through like that whole entire sequence. But yeah. Like what a wild, wild movie.
Right?
Just woof.
But that's the kind of stuff like I think that's enjoyable because yeah, like it's wild and crazy to be like, what in the hell is happening? But it's still entertaining and yeah, like you got some good laughs in there. They like props to the kid, like Cole, like he was really funny. Like he had a lot of really funny moments.
Ew, you touched my boob, you perv. You can't be mad at me for defending myself. Or why doesn't he have a shirt on? That's your only question.
Yeah.
And then he's like trying to cut himself loose. And they're all like, we can see you through the mirror.
Yeah.
I was like, damn.
Yep.
I thought everyone did a bang up job playing weirdos. I don't know. Like I said, I did enjoy like the little breadcrumbs they did leave for the mystery, but like I wanted more. But obviously I think that's just me being I want to piece it all together. Like it seems like she does this from town to town. So like how long was she using Cole's blood, if at all, you know, or if that was the first time? I'm assuming not, but yeah, I was just curious, like more and more, but obviously I think it was more about the survival and like the over the topness of it.
Yeah.
More than the mystery, but again, I love a good mystery, so I was just like, I want to know. I want to know what the blood is for. You know? And they're sort of like, I want to get my dream job as a journalist.
As a journalist.
I'm like, oh. Like if I was gonna make a pact with the devil, it wouldn't be I'd like to be a journalist. Like, I don't know. My expectations would be a little bit higher, but
right.
You know, that's fine. That's fine.
It's your dream job.
Right. Nothing wrong with that. So we'll definitely have to see how the sequel goes. So like I told Kendra earlier, maybe I'll have to watch again, maybe the Scream 3 and maybe this sequel this month, just because I kind of want to wrap up the story this month. So we'll see. We'll see if I can get those ones down. Idea. Yeah. But again, we'll just have to see how time goes.
So I mean, we're sticking kind of with the classics for spooky movie or for spooky month this time around. But we also have some like good like horror comedy mashups as well that we're excited to watch as well.
Right? I was just telling Kendra, probably next up for me will be Halloween 2. I got that recorded on my PVR, so I'm ready to go. But yeah, it's been a nice little back and forth, I think. Nice back and forth when we were picking the films to watch this month.
Hell yeah.
And if you want to know what we're watching this month, we're going to have to stay tuned to find out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think that'll do it for today's episode, I think, Cease?
I think so, yeah.
Hells yeah. And, I hope you guys had a great time with us. You know, we're continuing Spooky Month for the rest of the month. So, like I said, stay tuned to see what other movies we end up watching. Let us know in the comments down below, what did you think of? What do you think of the Scream franchise as a whole? What do you think of the Babysitter movie? And my best friend's Exorcism. Would you save your best friend if she was possessed by the devil? Yes. Let us know in the comments down below.
And if you've read the book, too, and have seen the movie, let us know your thoughts on all these things. Yes. Because, yes, I'm conflicted. Very conflicted by this movie and the book.
Help Kendra feel less conflicted. Help her feel less conflicted. Leave this video a little likesy, because I think we deserve it. We're pretty two cool gals. And consider subscribing to Two Pretty Cool Gals, in my opinion. And yeah, just to keep a head on Spooky Month for the rest of the month. But anyways, guys, that's it from us today. Watch all the content, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye! Monkey, monkey.
Monkey, monkey.
And
Slime.
Ooh, spooky.